What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us at Hardy Construction when you look up on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, as well as, oh gosh, I think I'll never get that right.
You're
As well as
you're
anything
doing a
else.
new way. You're trying
Yes,
things out.
just look Hardy Construction and all that stuff anywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, as well as Tumblr. So there you go. That's it. With your host Comp, and
Miscellaneous penis.
today's film is
Tokyo Gore Police, 2008.
Tokyo Gore Police, 2008, directed by.
Yosh
I'll do it.
Yoshihiro.
Yoshihiro Nishimura. It's written by Kengo Kaji as well as Maki Mizui and some other people. Stars Eihi Shina, Itsuji Tao, and Yukihide Beni. So, what this movie is about is, in a future Tokyo, a young woman in the privatized police force tracks down her father's killer while battling against mutant rebels known as the Engineers.
Engineers.
So why'd you pick Tokyo Gore Police, Danny?
Because it is very gory, and it's been a really long time since I've seen it. I don't believe that this came out in 2008. I thought it's been out a lot longer than that.
Do you? I saw it in the theaters a long time ago. It's just, it's around that
It
wheelhouse. when I
feels
saw
like
it.
one of those movies that I've known since I was a teenager, but that's not possible.
Yeah, that's not a. I mean, it still looks good. This is the type of Japanese film. Holy shit! Just looking at the
What?
trivia, it says shot and completed it in just 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
This is a movie that's about an hour and 48 minutes, and it feels like full to the gills of content.
Yeah.
And in some ways, it actually feels like RoboCop in some ways, but I'll get to
Oh, I was gonna say it's basically
Yeah.
like Asian RoboCop.
It is. And also in the trivia, Yoshihiro Nishimura came up with the idea of the brothel when he visited a go-go bar in Thailand. Wow, that's fascinating trivia. So anyway, so you picked this because you saw it a long time ago. How long ago did
It's
you
just
see
like
it?
a classic in my mind, but I guess
Really?
it's really not that old. Yeah.
How did you
I
hear
mean,
of it? Did I tell you about it, or did you just happen to see it?
I don't even know if I. No, I must have known you at this point.
Okay.
I don't know. I knew it. I saw it. I guess when it first came out, and I just assumed it was old or something. I don't know.
I'm trying to figure out how I saw it. I know when I first saw it. I saw it at the New York Asian Film Festival. When we did the review of X-Cross, I called it the New York Japanese Film Festival. Actually, the New York Asian Film Festival,
Oh, okay.
NYAFF. And I saw this movie because I remember seeing the trailer online for it. I believe I saw the trailer online for it. And what it sold me is how bizarre it looked and how gory and like over the top.
It's
And
so
what really
silly.
what really sold me was there was a clip on the trailer of a woman. She's called Dog Girl in the movie. She's played by Kei Izumi, and surprisingly, if you look at Kei Izumi on IMDb, she's actually a very attractive girl. But she is wearing
Right.
a gas mask, and she
Well,
has
she is hot for the 1 second we see her face.
she has no arm. She has no arms from the elbows up and no legs from the knees down, and she kind of walks on her stumps. I still don't know how they did this effect. I assume it's obviously with CG and
She's not
erasing
an
stuff.
amputee or something.
No, because I guess she's walking around in the other movies. I don't know. She's in other movies by this director, so it's
Huh.
very. I don't know. I'm confused. I'm still like. I mean, it should be clearly obvious that they used an actual amputee in the film, and then, CG it out. CG
At
it
certain
up.
points, I actually thought it was like a robot, like
Okay.
animatronic or something.
It's
and
definitely
then, like,
CG
when
in some points. It's actually not that bad of CG for this type of film. What's weird is
Yeah.
that even the Japanese, because a lot of Japanese special effects are pretty terrible in their big budget films. This is a film directed by special effects guys, so that's why it's a lot better. It's so funny because this is a much better film for a Japanese sort of special effects crew.
This
that are not
girl is
traditional
in-
directors.
This
What?
girl's in a movie on her IMDb, Kei Izumi or whatever. She's in a movie called Zombie Ass: The Toilet of the Dead.
Yeah, that's by the same crew. These, but speaking of that, like when you see American sort of special effects crews that make their own films, we get movies like what was that movie with?
That one with the Leprechaun guy, Warwick Davis. Skin Deep or.
Oh
No,
yeah,
no,
right.
that's
That
a different
one.
movie.
Another one we saw was what was the one? I just saw it and I zapped out of my head as soon as you started talking. Oh fuck, I can't.
Sorry.
Think of the movie. But I know another one that we saw. Oh no, okay, here it goes. A fantastic movie, one of the greatest movies. I should have stopped talking. It was Gutterball. Remember that movie?
I don't, so that just
Remember,
shows how stupid it
remember the
probably
horror
was.
movie in the bowling alley?
Oh, it's like really low budget,
That
right?
really terrible movie. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that when you see American like special effects directors, like for some reason, for the most part, they don't get it right. Especially, I remember seeing something called Left for Dead. Fantastic special effects, bad movies. They're just all bad movies.
Yeah.
But this Tokyo Gore Police is a decent bad, like a good bad movie. In
It's
the
over the
fact that
top bad, like it's
right,
fun.
but it's actually put together pretty competently. I think what's the only bad thing is that it's not well done DP wise, as in
Yeah.
how it looks. It looks like it's shot on digital camera.
Some of the
'Cause-
edits in this are so bad.
oh
like
yeah,
like really like awkward. Like at one point it shows her salute with her crocodile hand, and then it goes to her dad saluting, but the sound is cut off out of nowhere. Like it's like, just have the sound flow over it. What's the problem?
still I think that adds to the charm of this film. I think
Yeah, no, it does. In like a really low budget, like
to
purposefully
me
B
this
movie.
this is the type of film that I think modern day Troma fails to sort of do. Do you know what I mean? Like this feels more of the spirit of Troma than recent Troma does. But then again, I
Ah.
can't say that I really know
I haven't
most
seen
recent
much recent
films.
Troma.
Yeah, I
Honestly.
can't say. Mostly the Troma guys now are the guys that did. Remember the editor and stuff like that. That was a good movie. But I think
Okay.
they're sort of doing just kind of goofy B movies with trying to be shocking, while this movie is actually legitimately shocking in some parts.
This movie
So-
is insane.
I saw this film at the New York Asian Film Festival. I saw it in the theater. I saw it with a crowd. This is a great movie to see with a crowd. Just like X Cross. This film had more of an audience participation with it actually, because that.
Oh, did you have to wear
X-Cross-
like
No,
part-
in the fact that audience were like hooting and hollering and being louder. X Cross people were a little bit more quiet because it was a little bit more straightforward narrative. It wasn't shocking, that movie. This
Yeah.
is much more of a shocking sort of crowd pleaser type of horror film. And I really enjoyed watching it in the theater. I remember just seeing the first shot when the main character, what is her name? Her name is Ruka. There's a shot of her father, saluting the camera, like POV of the daughter looking at him, the voiceover saying, "Oh, my dad was a superhero," and his head just explodes, and the audience was like in as soon as they saw it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't even know how to explain what this movie's about. Like watching it again, I was getting really sucked into it. I was like, wow, this was a good movie. Like in a way that there was a lot more in it than I thought, and it is very
Yeah.
over the top. Like in the very beginning, Ruka is, I mean, how would you describe the art design in this film? Just like the costumes and everything.
It's it really, I mean, God, I don't know.
I mean, I was
But, like,
impressed by it. I don't
It
know.
reminded me kind of like Hobo with a Shotgun level of blood splats and all that kind of shit.
Well,
And
obviously, yeah.
it had a feel of like RoboCop with all like the fake commercials and like over the top violence and
But
shit.
obviously, movies like Hobo with a Shotgun owe their blood and gore to films like this, and obviously to Kishimiike's like Ichi the Killer and his other older films and stuff like that, and even from back then, like Story of Ricky, kind of over the top gore.
Yeah, but
when
it's
you see
more
gore like
like-
that in American films, they owe it to Asian cinema, because Asian
It's
cinema
more
are
like
the ones that really did that
like
kind of stuff
gross
first.
feeling, like then
Right.
like
dirty.
like evil. Yeah, it's like dirty. Like Evil Dead 2 or something is like clean over the top gore. This is like gross, weird things and sex.
Well, you know
bars
what? I
with
you know I
boobs
might
and
take
shit.
that. Think now that you mention it, I might take it back and say that maybe a lot of Japanese directors owe it to Sam Raimi for Evil Dead 2 with his gore effects. But I don't know if they've ever had the blood
I don't know.
spray. I guess it is the blood spray is crazy like that in that film, so maybe they do owe it to Sam Raimi. I'm not sure who really kind of
I
created
mean,
that,
the
but
blood hits the screen like 8 times in this movie.
yeah, that's true. I mean, it's with the really bad digital effect of the blood droplets hitting the screen and stuff like that. But
I don't know if it was digital. I think it might have just been like
some of them
plexiglass.
definitely were for sure. I saw like digital
Oh, okay.
stuff. But this film has Ruka. She works for the privatized police. This is in the future, some sort of weird Japan. They say it's chaotic, but it doesn't really seem like that, because when they show crowd scenes, it's obviously just non-actors. It's actually just real crowds of people walking around. And then they
Right.
insert these sort of bizarre sequences in between. So Ruka is this cop who is, she's a cutter. And she is like traumatized by the death of her father, which she witnessed as a teenager, even though she looked exactly the same. How would you describe? Obviously also Eiji Shina, who plays Ruka, was in Audition. She played the antagonist in that film. She's like, I guess there were two antagonists in that film. One guy was Harvey Weinsteining his way into a date in that movie. Speaking of that, I was thinking about...
He was pretty straightforward. He wasn't Harvey Weinsteining.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he held a whole audition process for a movie that wasn't going to happen just so he could get laid.
I mean, they made entire shows out of that. Flavor of Love.
That's true.
Rock of Love.
You know what I was thinking about that? Like, actually, I was thinking about that.
Those are great shows.
What about this film, or just Harvey Weinstein? Like, what if they made, like, you know how there are pretty famous Hollywood guys that got in trouble because of their sexual, deeds. So they decide to pool their money together and make a film, and they make an American remake of Dragon Ball Z, but it's like them, and they're trying to get the Dragon Ball so they can wish for all the women to forget what happened, so they can get on with their lives. And Charlie Rose is Master Roshi, and Harvey Weinstein is Oolong. And,
no, Kevin Spacey would be Master Roshi.
No, I would think Kevin Spacey would be what's his name?
Krillin?
Piccolo.
Piccolo?
Yeah, because he's not. He has the stature, and he's like,
And then he gets a fatal wound, so he vomits out a egg of himself.
Can't you picture Kevin Spacey losing his arm and then growing another one right out of it?
Yeah, I could see that. He would lose his penis and then grow another one.
Oh no, actually, Kevin Spacey would be General Blue, wouldn't he? Because he's like.
Oh yeah, like he's a pedophile. Yeah.
Oh boy, we're so funny. Anyway, so with this film, Ruka is working for the privatized police force. This is I guess this is very much why I say RoboCop earlier is because there's plenty of commercials that happen during the film. Apparently, there's a big suicide rate in this version of Japan, even though in real life in Japan there's a huge suicide rate in Japan, honestly.
Right.
And they're promoting. There are some commercials that are promoting not to kill yourself, and then there was commercials where girls are like cheery, cute schoolgirls are showing these new wrist cutter devices that are cute and really charming ways to kill yourself. And then there's also commercials, propaganda for the.
It's also they got like the the privatized cops, which is like in RoboCop.
Privatized cops. Yeah, that's why when I was watching it in theater, I was like, this reminds me of RoboCop because all the phony commercials are funny.
OCP.
Yeah, right, and it's good world building, even though obviously they didn't have a massive budget for this film. Because it's done by special effects guys, it works really well. So the fact that they can kind of cut corners, but everything looks funny, but also it's shot in a very exploitative B-movie way.
It's not supposed to look real.
Right.
Like, you could tell that immediately when she's cutting herself, and it's like a weird bag of flesh with blood in it.
What are your top 3 favorite gags in this movie? Like visual gags? Like
definitely the penis guy where he's shooting guns out of his dick. That's amazing.
I could have sworn that guy was in a lot more films. His name is Yukihide Benny. He hasn't acted in anything since 2013.
Yeah, he looks very familiar actually, but I don't know.
He hasn't acted in anything since 2013. I think which sucks because that guy's funny and he's been in a lot of this director's works.
Right.
But yeah, he was funny. I liked it's a difference between the dog girl with the one with the when she's fighting with the swords at the end, which is like something I had never seen in my life, and I was like in shock and awe when I saw it in the theater.
It's awesome.
Like, I couldn't believe it. I was waiting for that whole scene from the trailer I had seen. I was like, I have to see the scene, and then when it happened, it like surpassed my even thoughts about it. Like just when that girl was just fighting and
I love when she's like spinning on her back with just her legs and shit.
Right, yeah, and it's obviously like CG, but it was still awesome. And there was also that girl, number 69, who was like the hottest girl in the movie.
The tit boobs. The
crocodile
the bite
legs.
Boobs. Yeah, crocodile legs. Yeah.
Yeah, that girl, she's super smoking hot. Like I was like, oh, she's hot, and she had crocodile legs.
As an alligator torso, she is beautiful.
I was trying to figure out because you know how they always say Japanese porn is blurred out and it's all digitized. Like, how come the penises weren't blurred out in this movie and they weren't really vaginas?
Well, they weren't real penises.
I guess so.
Also, they don't blur out the penises. They only blur out the vaginas.
No, I'm sure they blur out the penises in the film as well. I don't think any Japanese like man or woman knows what actual genitalia looks like until they actually get naked with each other. I'm sure.
Imagine their genitals are actually pixelated.
I was gonna make that joke because I did date a Japanese girl, but it was a real deal. So maybe it
wasn't pixeled.
She probably had it scrubbed way before I even
Maybe
read
you did the. Did you alter the sharpness when you
it. That's what I
went down
did.
on her?
I pulled my earlobe and it fixed the it
It fixed the
deprogrammed it.
resolution.
Funny enough, you want to hear something creepy? You know that the show Yu-Gi-Oh, the card
Yeah,
dueling manga, or
yeah.
anime that makes absolutely apparently in that show, when they used cards and they're like Blue Eyes White
Doesn't it
Dragon and all that
basically
stuff.
just like? Isn't it basically Pokemon combined with like
Right,
Dungeons and
right.
Dragons or something?
Apparently, one thing is
Or
that
Magic the Gathering, I mean.
they make it up as they go. Like, there's no actual set rules for like
Okay.
destroy the monsters fighting each other. But also, in the original actual comic, because that card shit didn't happen until midway of the comic being done. Originally, it was just Yu-Gi-Oh using his powers to fuck over mean people. Like
Uh-huh.
it was actually a very serious comic about Yu-Gi-Oh dealing with assholes, like just regular people. So there was one guy who liked porn, but he also picked on people.
Uh-huh.
So Yu-Gi-Oh made him, like, I guess he beat him in some sort of game, and the guy's eyeballs could only see that digital mosaic, like, in the pornography. So he was
Uh-huh.
essentially blind because everything he looked at was like mosaiced out like porn. So like
Huh.
Yu-Gi-Oh is like cruel and shit. So if anybody ever wants to see like Yu-Gi-Oh be good and not have to deal with that card shit, read the original books. But going back to that, this is why
Interesting. I didn't know
the Japanese are very strange in that way, that they're not afraid of going over the top. There's a scene where
No,
there's a
they're not.
cop. There's a cop in this film, played by Yukihide Benny, who is trying to blow off some steam. Like, I love the part where he's faking shooting heroin by drawing a syringe on
Yeah,
his
what
arm.
the hell was that? Was he
Because
faking
he-
it, or is that like an advanced heroin?
No, he was just a cop, and he wanted to, let loose. Because I guess the
Right.
privatized police are very strict, so he just drew a syringe on his arm and faked that he was getting high just because he was bored.
Yeah.
And then he ended up going to a prostitution, like, hostel club or some shit like that. And
Yo, that brothel was awesome.
a
I would
brothel,
have gone
right,
there with that Mickey Mouse lady and
yeah,
the
I mean
King's
the
chair and
the
all
character designs and the costume designs are incredible. There's like this pink Mickey Mouse woman that's there, showing off, I guess, the prostitutions that were available for that night. And one was like a snail woman with her eyeballs like shooting out of her head, really grotesque. And I saw the guy you were talking about, one that looked like which American actor you said he looked like?
that. Oh, he looked like Philip Seymour Hoffman, the guy that gets number 69 or 31 or whatever.
Yeah, my number 31. He ends up taking her out of the room, which was really bugged me. That guy must have been really hard up, or I guess there are people that are into shit like that.
Well,
And
there's
then obviously-
it reminded me of there's a book, Perdido Street Station, which everyone should read this
yeah.
book. And there's a scene in there where there's these things called remade, which are basically people that have been like altered as punishment, and there's like a prostitution brothel place of remade, and this one guy goes to it, like, and it's really like fucked up. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's the same thing basically. I wonder.
The really grotesque part, because I remember seeing it in the theater, going, "What the fuck was the chair that was made out of a woman?"
Oh yeah,
and
that
it
was very
had-
antiviral feeling.
Yeah, right. And it had a vagina that looked like a flower, like an open bud or something, and then it just started gooing on
Squirting?
everybody.
Squirting or
Yeah, it started
pissing?
squirting. No, it was squirting because the had a viscous quality to the water that laid on the people. But like, here's the thing with this movie: there is an actual direct plot to this film. It's just that they like crowd it or stuff it with so much insanity. That it adds to the enjoyment of the film, because the basic plot is that Ruka is chasing down this serial killer who is chopping up women and putting them inside. He's just leaving them as a calling card for some reason. I think he's called the Key Man. And what happened was, what we end up finding out is obviously he was the son of a guy who assassinated Ruka's father. And so he went insane.
Up close, and no one intervened, even though he's standing in clear. And this guy's a cop.
Even the greatest part is that when they actually show him assassinate the dad, he just stands up from a crouch, like if he was hiding underneath the screen to shoot the father in the head. He just literally like stands up. It was like he was hiding underneath the dad. And anyway, so the key man was a doctor who injected himself with the DNA, or I guess whatever
of all the serial killers, which is the
Of-
plot to Virtuosity, if you've ever
Is it?
seen that.
Yeah, you're right. Virtuosity always bothered me. That's a fucking awesome movie, by the way. Virtuosity is the one
It's awesome, but the special effects are terrible.
yeah, they're pretty bad. I love that effect though with Denzel Washington falling like Mortal Kombat 2 to his death, and he slams onto the floor and he like dies and then he wakes up. Anyway, that movie has Denzel Washington versus a virtual Russell Crowe who comes out into real life. But I remember some part of it that really bothered me was. Remember that I forgot the guy's name, but he played Flat Top in the Dick Tracy movie. He's an actor. He played the bad guy in a fantastic bad guy in Out for Justice, Steven Seagal movie, and he's like the good cop. And he gets knocked out by Russell Crowe, and Russell Crowe's character is evil, right? And he could have just let him stay knocked out. He decides to take a giant pole and brain him, so you know the character's dead, and that like bothered me really badly.
Why?
Because he's a bad guy. He was the bad guy. He was just like he killed him. Like it was an overkill. He knocked him out because usually in a film, like in a big budget film, the bad guy.
But he gets so much joy out of killing and violence. Why is
right? So I shouldn't be surprised that it was a crazy killer machine that or whatever, a facsimile, killing the guy. But I was just really upset by that scene, like that. He went the extra mile to kill the guy who was knocked out. It was very stupid because it's a very paper-thin movie, but I really was bothered by that, and I was very happy when Denzel Washington fucked him into hell. Anyway, so he has... What always bothered me also was when they put the DNA of like serial killers and they put it in, and this doctor injects it, the key man. He would
just get like AIDS or something. He wouldn't become a serial killer. Like
there's a vial of Charles Manson, and it always bothered me because the technicality that Charles Manson never really killed anybody. He was just like a Looney Tune that told people to kill people, and it always bugs me. It's like
I think he might have killed somebody, but he is not a serial killer.
Oh, that's true. It might have been like in the 50s. Like I think he killed one person. That's the theory that he killed.
But he's not
guy.
a serial killer. He got other people to do it.
But it always like bugged me. That always bugs me when they put him in that. There's like that's also like the Ed Gein kind of thing. Ed Gein shot 2 women, and all of a sudden he's a serial killer. It's just the shit that he did. Besides that, I'm a very disturbed man that listens to a lot of true crime podcasts, so I know more than I should. Like I'm watching.
It's okay. You're in the right place.
I was watching Mindhunter on Netflix, going, "That's not right." Hey, wait a minute, like because I know so much about serial killers. It's very, very, very disturbing of me. Anyway,
telling us something right now. Folks.
So the key man essentially created this thing that this sort of tumor or this cancer.
Well, wasn't a devil that looked like the psychic lady from Poltergeist the one that gave him the vial?
Okay, right. So there's some wonky shit.
Was it supernatural? I think it was.
Could be. With this movie, really, well, who's to say anything? There's no, like, sort of limit on what can be done in this film. But there's this tumor that sort of, after you get hurt, your injury can turn into a weapon. So that's why at the beginning of the film, when she's there's a great, fight, a chainsaw fight at the beginning of the movie on the top of a roof. And it's with Takasuguchi, who did the martial arts choreography.
It's very Videodrome feeling, actually, at certain parts.
Yeah. It's a very weird-looking but beautifully
this guy definitely was inspired by, like, Cronenberg and shit.
Takasuguchi is an actor. He's an actor sometimes, and I think he's more of a fight choreographer in films. And he's in this fantastic movie called Versus that we have to do, which is essentially the Evil Dead with martial arts in the middle of the woods. It's it's incredible.
Let's do it. Sure.
I love that movie. It's amazing. Anyway, so he's a guy in the beginning of the movie with the crazy long hair. He's like a really super handsome guy, and they had to ugly him up for the movie. He has like perfect cheekbones. It's really
he is the kid of the guy that killed the dad.
No, he's the guy in the beginning of the film with the chainsaw. The first guy that she fights.
Oh, right. That's a great scene.
It is. It's a great scene. And anyway, so Ruka's storyline essentially with the key man, he wants to take revenge on the head of the privatized police because the privatized police had set up Ruka's father to get assassinated. So it was like a double sort of setup. He was going to kill. He ends up killing the assassin, and in the way getting the father who was protesting the privatization of police. So Ruka finds this out. She still fucks up that guy, even though he comes back at the end. And she has the key inside of her as well, the tumor that gives her this sort of.
But how did she get it? Did she put it there herself? Because
no, remember he.
Him. But then he's alive at the end. Yeah.
No, remember he cut open her arm and put it in her arm.
Oh, and, yeah, you're right.
So she gets affected by it, and and it's always that third act thing. In movies when it's kind of rote by now, but every film, at least in the 80s through the 90s, the main character is sort of powerless up to a point, and then at the end they have some sort of surge of superpower, which gives them the edge.
Yeah,
sort
like
of
the
like
Matrix.
Right, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like Neo at the end, he gets his magic powers at the end and beats the shit out of everybody. Or even, did you ever see The Last Dragon?
No.
Oh my God, that is a masterpiece. It's essentially a black version of Enter the Dragon.
Okay.
With like blaxploitation in it. It really is the most incredible fucking blaxploitation movie ever made. It was made in the 80s. We have to see that movie. And that guy at the end, this guy he gets his third act superpower. So essentially, that's what is given to her, but they give it to her in a grotesque sort of superpower way, where she, her arm turns into this sort of mutant crab arm that eats
It's like
people and stuff.
That's like
that.
a lizard face or something.
Yeah, and so the privatized cops become the bad guys at the end, much like no, the cops never become the bad guys in RoboCop, but there's a lot.
Well,
of
no,
films
the
where,
OCP becomes the bad guys.
Well, yeah, the main guys from the OCP. I don't think the police become bad guys.
No, but the police are controlled by OCP,
Right,
but they don't want to be.
It's essentially. I meant like Ed 209. So essentially, they have to fight their own sort of friendly way.
Yeah.
Also, Ruka has this woman who, for some reason, like she didn't look exactly like her, but reminded me of Cassandra Peterson. Elvira, facially.
Okay.
That woman, the bartender woman, that was sort of raised her in a sense.
She's awesome.
She gets an amazing death. In the
what's
film.
great is like they're trying to corner her with cars, and the cars are spinning the wheels, and they can't pull her apart.
That should have
No, it
taken
didn't happen. They pull her apart with no effort at all.
That should have taken no effort at all. I've actually,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You see the cars like drag, like as if they're like attached to a wall or something, and not a human body.
Oh, I loved the fact that the guy's eating a sandwich while driving inside the or eating something, and he's just like
It's
happily
so dumb.
eating his food.
I think my favorite scene in this is actually when they do the happy birthday to her.
And yes, at the beginning.
It starts at that's the first time you see the sword, the amputee girl and the dog girl or whatever, and she's just like all like weird bondage, and it's so dramatic.
I mean, there's so many great
so
scenes
good.
in this film. Like, there's a scene where there's a guy molesting her on the train. There's also that grotesque scene with the person
Oh yeah,
eating.
she gets him good actually.
That
good.
grotesque guy eating, or man or woman, I don't know what it was. Hey, I'm not judging. It was a person that was eating snails or something.
Ugh.
And it was a and mealworms and shit like that. And it was specifically a extreme close up of the teeth grinding down.
That
on the
was
worms
bad,
in his mouth.
actually. I
That
almost
was
looked
probably the
away.
most grossest shit in the film because it was real. And
Yeah.
I mean, but there's a lot of stuff in this film, and plot wise, it moves fairly well for an hour and 48 minutes. I don't think there was any slowness to the movie. I didn't feel
No,
that
it's
at all.
immediately fast. You got this crazy chainsaw guy. Who do you think would win in a fight, him or Leatherface?
Him. He's gonna beat the shit out of Leatherface is just a fat guy with a mask on.
But the way he runs and moves, he's very similar.
Well, okay, but I think Leatherface maybe Leatherface will do that stupid dance. He puts a chainsaw in the air and shakes his ass left and right.
Right.
That might confuse the guy. So I mean, it could be a draw by then. But I thought I mean, it's weird because the movie's nearly 2 hours, but it moves at such a quick pace because you're being fed so much bizarre information with this movie.
Yo, I laughed out loud 10 times during this movie.
Yeah, it doesn't let you stop. It's such a strange movie, but it's a beautifully weird movie. It's not a perfect movie.
And then
by
there's
any
a
sense.
random racist blackface pinhead guy in there. What the
That's
hell
what
is that?
This is what I told you because there's a movie, I forgot what it was called. I think it was Frankenstein Girl versus Vampire Girl or something like that, which
Okay.
was by the same crew. He worked a lot. This director, he has sort of a partner in crime. I don't know if they work together as frequently, but maybe he wrote this one. No, he didn't write this one. But he has a partner that both of them were always on this film, and that guy directs other films as well in a similar vein because I think they're both special effects guys. And that guy, I believe that guy did Frankenstein versus Dracula Girl, Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl, which has the girl who playing Frankenstein Girl is fucking smoking hot in that movie.
Yeah, but she's a corpse.
Well, whatever. She's hot in the movie. and maybe he didn't direct it, but there's a blackface, a Japanese woman playing a blackface character in that film, and I mean it's
Yeah,
like
what's that about?
but it's not blackface where it's like the red lips and the blackface. It's like African skin tone.
It looks
but
like
really
like
poor.
An
I mean, it's
alien's
fucking-
interpretation of what a black person looks like. Or something.
Yeah, I mean it's really hideous. Really,
like it was like really
hideously
like, whoa, what
offensive.
is this out of nowhere? This is weird.
It's really hideously
And,
offensive
like,
because
pretty
you like
offensive.
because you know it's another country, so obviously another country has views on Americans. I'm sure they see Americans as only as white people, and they look at anybody else as sort of like exotic. But I mean, this is something that you would see out of a racist white person's caricature of a black person.
Yeah, it was.
So
And
you're
also
like,
it
what
was like
the
a
fuck?
pinhead. It was just really weird. Like, what is this out of nowhere?
Yeah, like where did this come from? But then you almost treat people like the Japanese, like, oh, they don't know any better because they don't know about Americans really. But then you're like, no, you probably should. Like, I'm sure there's people here who would know not to offend somebody from Japan. Not saying all Japanese
Yeah,
think
of course
this way.
they know better. Come on.
They have to, but I mean, it's. I've seen material like about African Americans or Latinos in their anime that it's like when you see what they
I can only
subtitle
imagine
what
how
they
they
say.
depict my people.
Oh my! Oh well, no. Listen, there's a Japanese cartoon movie. What the hell is the name of it? Where they essentially it's an OVA, a Japanese animation film,
Yeah.
where the bad guy blames the Jews at the end of the movie. Hey, listen, remember the Japanese were with the Nazis, so
true.
you know what I mean. So I'm sure the Nazis were telling them bad shit about the Jewish people at the end. But in that movie, I got to think of the fucking name. But anyway, go list some stuff that you didn't like about this film while I think about that movie.
I mean, there's not
Was there
really
anything
much
that
I
bothered
didn't
you
like.
about it
It's
besides
just
that?
like it's not a film to like take so seriously. Like, you know, it's not.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, like I wasn't
it's
really
not a particularly
offended by
good
anything.
film. Like as far as like like, you know, it's not. It's very very lowbrow. Put it that way.
By the way, the movie's called Angel Cop, and I saw it. And it's like
Oh,
basically
about the Jews.
Yeah, it's basically they had to change it for the American version. Obviously, they changed a lot of shit at the end. It's essentially a cop fighting psychics, and it's really cool looking anime. And then you see that last part where it's like a bad guy has a big a huge like monologue about the Jews being evil.
You know, if he's psychic, though, maybe he knows something. You know.
Here's just what it says in the at tvtropes.org. It says dub title: since the Japanese original was deemed anti. This is about Angel Cop, everybody. It's not about
Tokyo
Gore Police. Since the Japanese original was deemed anti-Semitic and impossible to market in the West, the English sub and dub toned down the Jewish plot. Of course, anyone who knows Japanese can simply overlook the subtitles and listen to the actual dialogue and know what is actually going on in the scene. There is also the problem that even viewers who don't know Japanese can clearly hear the word America being said while the subtitles say something else. So if you want to have a cool like anime movie, then totally get get confused by anti-Semitism, you can watch that movie. Anyway, so I didn't think Tokyo Gore Police would lead into a discussion about race relations with other countries in Japan, but hey, why not? So with that, I really enjoyed the film. I mean, I'm not offended by it, by the movie at all. It is absolutely,
yeah, no, it's great.
It is grotesque. Like I wouldn't tell any. Like it's even more grotesque than Ichi the Killer in some ways.
But it's so over the top that it's like not even like upsetting.
Yeah, it's a cartoonish grotesque. Like Ichi the Killer.
There's no point where you're grossed out except where they're actually eating bugs. That's the only.
Like
part.
there's a level of cartoonish grotesquerie in Ichi the Killer, but it's like played seriously. So like there's actual rape, and remember that scene in Ichi the Killer where they pull that woman's nipples across the table and he razor blades the nipples right off, and you hear the sound of the scratching. Like that is very bothersome.
There's a lot of fucked up stuff in that movie.
Yeah, the gore in here is cartoonishly, gleefully violent. So it's different. Like when this is bad. There's a scene where a guy with a machine gun, disgruntled sort of nerd, starts shooting an AK-47 at young boys.
Oh yeah, that's a great
in a field. And they digitally blur out one of the kids' heads exploding because I guess it's too offensive to show a kid's head explode.
Yeah, I was wondering what that was about.
Yeah, they do that. It's obviously a joke where they can't, you couldn't show certain people dying, So when they kill the nerd, and then they start kicking his head around in the field, but the mosaic, the digital blur on his face is slow, so it's trying to follow the head being kicked around on the floor. It's that type of movie where it's just absolutely screwball weird, but it's fun. You know, this is the type of movie where I wish Troma released this type of film, but they're so fucking cheap. They're like they don't pay the people. They buy it for like $5.
This costs. Well, they have a like pretty much a standard. They'll only spend like 500 grand on a movie or something.
Oh, Troma?
Yeah, I don't. This doesn't say how much this movie cost to make.
So I'm trying to think of the movies that I have seen by this director. I've seen. What did he did? He did. Remember Z is for Zetsumatsu? He did something ABC's.
Yeah, and he also did makeup on O is for. It's like a zombie one or something.
Which is the one F is for fart? I think that was from the other director.
Oh, that's a really weird one.
Yeah, I think that was from the other director that I was trying to talk to. That it was his partner. I'm not sure, but anyway, okay. So he did Helldiver, a movie that we're going to be doing soon. He directed Mutant Girl Squad, which is a movie I actually saw without subtitles and I enjoyed because I wanted to see it so badly. Vampire Girl vs. Frankenstein Girl, I enjoyed a lot. Meatball Machine. It's great.
I never heard of that.
Also, you can find. Apparently, I didn't know about this until recently, or until tonight, actually. That it's this movie Tokyo Gore Police is an extended version of a film he did called somebody did called Anatomia Extinction 1985.
No, he did it.
Okay, so it's on YouTube, so you can actually see it. It's a 54-minute short film.
So is it like a different?
I haven't seen anything about it. I haven't seen it. So I'm only looking at a screenshot of a man standing in the middle of a crowd. So I assume it's a grotesque.
No, I'm reading it. I'm reading a review, and it's saying it's Tokyo Gore Police is far from a direct remake of this film, though there are commonalities.
Oh, so maybe that's it. Because on the I read somewhere
same universe, different story.
Okay, so then that's interesting. Maybe that took place before the privatization of the police. But I mean, you literally can go on and on about this film because there's so many intricacies and the design, and there's like a fight between a schoolgirl whose arm mutates versus one of the police officers.
She's got a utility knife arm.
It almost seems like it's from a scene from another film. Like he shot that and then just inserted it into this film, right? Because it's like, where did these characters come from? What did you think about the main actress, who plays Ruka?
She's so serious. It's really funny in the context of this movie.
It's crazy because she obviously, the lady, I believe she was a model before she was an actor, and she looks like a model. But like she almost looks like she's not a real person, which is scary because she's beautiful in a way, but she also doesn't look real. So it's almost like you're looking at a CG person. I don't know if
really,
that makes any sense.
Straight faced and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember what she was like in Audition. I remember she was pretty creepy.
I think she looks the same. I don't know if she's like a very good actor, but she was good in both of these films. I thought like she doesn't have to emote much in these films. Right. Not to take away from her, but she's
like a badass. She doesn't have to like say or do much.
Right.
She just has to look pissed off and do shit.
She's fun, and I believe she's the bad guy in the Helldiver movie that we're gonna do soon. I was like, fuck it, let's just do some Japanese movies before the end of the year.
Yeah, no, I love doing Japanese movies. It's great.
So yeah, what rating would you give this film?
I give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. Super slow motion middle fingers being deflected off of a tongue and fired back at the man shooting them.
You talking about the arm cannon that the guy had?
Yeah.
How great was that arm cannon?
You remember you're shooting the middle finger hands and like you see it go and it very slowly hits the tongue, twirls around and fires back at him.
That's why I laugh because it's so
effect of all.
It's so absolutely stupid. It's like it's cartoonishly dumb. It's like, what is this?
Like they were definitely laughing when they like filmed this shit.
Oh yeah, and I mean, this is a movie that looks like the guys had so much fun fucking making. That's why I can't believe it was done in 2 weeks. Like I can't believe it was done in 2 weeks, but apparently it was, which is insane.
Right. They must have had a big crew or something.
I'm in the middle of a production. we've taken 1 day out of 6 weeks so far. So I mean, come on, like one day per each week. So it's like insanity that these guys.
Well, you're also not able to pay people enough to dedicate.
That's
all their time
true. So like these when you see productions like this, this is a production made obviously out of love, and the directors wanted to make a film like this.
Everybody took off for like 2 weeks and fucking.
Oh yeah,
it's like 24 hours
fucking,
a day, basically.
It's fucking incredible that this movie was made, and obviously everybody sort of got street cred or cult movie cred from it, and deservedly so, because everybody's awesome in this film. So I would also give it an 8.5 out of 10. Saluting your daughter while an assassin slowly from a crouch stands up and blows your head away.
How does he not, as a trained cop, how does he not notice that there's a guy for like a full 10 seconds holding a gun an inch from his head? And how does that guy not notice that there's a guy doing that to him?
In his defense, it was slow motion at the beginning, so I'm not sure. But then it became regular motion, right? Yeah.
And also, how does Ruka not notice that the guy that killed him is the guy who adopts her and is laughing evilly the whole time as her dad just died?
I don't know. These are questions that could go on till the end of time.
I would like to ask the director.
Yeah, we should. I'm sure he would answer. There are plenty of. Okay, so the other guy is Noboru Iguchi. He's like a chubby guy. That's the one who usually was in them. He's the director that directed the commercials in the film. You know, the police commercials and the slit wrists and
the guy that putting the sword in his mouth and he's like, "It cut sharp." He says it like 4 times exactly the same.
No, that was just another actor. But this Noboru Iguchi did a bunch of other films. I think he co-directed some of the stuff with this guy. But anyway, yeah, 8 out of 10. That's my rating. Great movie. I enjoyed it. This is like a must-see for anybody who likes cult shock cinema. It's a great movie. With that, Danny, what's the final word?
Barbiturates.
The horror deconstruction.